Good morning, everybody. This is Ed Avis speaking. I'm the publisher of El Restaurante magazine, and I want to welcome you all today to our webinar, Where is My Money? This is a topic that is very important, especially when margins are tight. Knowing how you can stop theft in your restaurant is an important way to keep money in your pocket. Before I introduce today's speaker, I want to give you a couple of housekeeping things. First, this event is being recorded. So if you want to watch it later, or if you want to have somebody else in your restaurant watch it, it will be posted on the elrestaurante.com website, probably by tomorrow morning. So look for that there. Second, while the event is happening, if you have questions, by all means, we encourage questions. Use the little Q&A tab on your screen to send questions. And I will give those questions to Izzy Kharasch, our speaker, when they come in, if it's appropriate, or we'll hold them until the end of his presentation. Remember, you've got the expert on the line right now, so don't hold back. If you have any questions, please do ask them. Okay, let me introduce Izzy Kharasch. Izzy is the president of Hospitality Works, a consulting firm he founded in 1987. Izzy has shown hundreds of restaurants, bars, and other hospitality businesses how to improve their profits and operations. From new restaurant development to hotel and casino consulting, Izzy offers his clients personalized coaching and revenue management solutions. Izzy also is an adjunct faculty member of Kendall College, Roosevelt University, the Culinary Arts Institute, and other organizations. And he is an Army veteran. In today's event, Izzy will explain how to uncover and prevent various types of theft that occur in restaurant operations. He will offer 3 real-life case studies where he identified and halted theft, increasing profits in under 3 weeks. So with that, Izzy, I turn it over to you.
All right, thanks, Ed. Good morning, everybody. And let's get started. I'm going to ask this question, which is, and I'd like you to, raise your hand if somebody can tell us, how do you think you may have an employee stealing from you right now? So I'll give you a minute to go ahead and put in a question or a comment if this has been happening, or you think that somebody's stealing from you. Raise your hand, type in the question, and let Ed know, and he'll ask it. But I will tell you that this topic is so pertinent to today. I literally was at a client's on Monday, and just in that day, we uncovered embezzlement from a manager and theft from bartenders. This is a restaurant that had been having trouble getting money into the bank. And since we took care of that, released people who were doing all of these things on a short period of time, just a couple of days, the restaurant went from almost making no deposits to making over $7,000 of deposits just this week. So that was theft on a big scale. What was the reason for the theft? And we'll get into it more, but I'm just going to say one word: trust. The owner trusted their staff, and they didn't follow up the way they should have as owners. When we got into it, then it was all uncovered. So, Ed, did anybody have a comment?
No, I don't see anyone with their hand raised. So
great. So as we go on, again, feel free to raise your hand, give Ed the comment, and he will let me know. So just to start off, what do we know about theft? Well, very quickly, there's a study says there's a 16% chance that a server will steal from the restaurant, and that's each and every day. So that's a pretty low number. I think that percentage is probably higher. Certainly, I've found it higher. And we're going to talk about all the ways that, what is theft? what do we consider theft, and then how do we uncover it? And you're never going to stop it, but we can certainly mitigate it by changing how we run our business. On average, daily theft is again calculated at about $1.67. Seems very small, but if you have a restaurant, 8 servers who are working at any given time throughout the day, that's $13, $14 a day in theft over a period of a year. Just that small amount of money is $4,500. Again, a lot of different ways for employees to steal. We want to look at how do we uncover it, how do we track it. A lot of times, I track it when I look at a bar drawer, and I check with my customer, and I say, is your bar drawer, even, over, or under? A lot of times they'll tell me that it's under, which to me, I don't usually worry about, because really, if we put in the time, we can track where that money went to. When I worry, when I think theft is occurring, is when they tell me that the drawer is over. That's the first sign to me that you have theft happening, typically at your bar. So if the bar drawer is supposed to be $252, but it comes in at $275, there's theft on a pretty large scale. And again, we're going to talk about how that occurs. 2 out of 10 servers have stolen over 50 times from their job. So 20% of your staff is stolen from you, essentially over 50 times. And we'll talk about what is that. But it could be, again, we'll get into it, but giving away a drink, giving away food, and we'll get into all those things. But 20% is not a small number. 2 out of 10 have stolen more than $400 over the course of their employment. And again, we'll look at how are they doing this. But when I met with my client on Monday, it was a long list of just shutting the door on all of the opportunities that employees had to steal, and how we as owners really let that happen. So now it's time to stop it, because again, our margins are so small, we cannot afford this. And to me, the biggest one is that 1/3 of restaurant failures are partially due to employee theft. And I run into this all the time. Unfortunately, people will call me, things are going really terribly, they're at the very end of the money that they have. I look into it with them and then just let them know, I'm sorry, I can't consult for you, because there's just not enough there to recover, or recovery time, or get the management that you need. Because if they had stopped that theft at whatever level that was at, the restaurant could have easily made it and stayed at break even until they could move on from there. So theft is a huge issue. It's subtle in many ways, and unfortunately, we don't catch it until it is a little bit too late. So who do you trust? And so I don't know the age of everybody that's in there, but this is Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies, but if you ever heard of that show. So, but there's a saying, and you may have heard it, which says, if your mother says she loves you, check it out. And this means that we have to really check all of our staff, all of our managers, to make sure that they're doing the right things. As I said, the theft that I caught this week, or embezzlement, was actually a family member, trusted, and stealing from the family operation. You'll see another case study in here where we caught somebody doing the same thing, and I will explain how that theft happened. But we can't be too trustful. We have to put things in place so that we can make sure that we can trust the people there. If it's too lax, as soon as somebody figures out that their bar drawer is over and they figured out how they did it, they're going to do that all the time to make that happen, so that they can make more and more money, and more of your money. So what's stealing? Well, during COVID, as you may remember, one of the things that people were worried about was, where am I going to get my toilet paper? And this is literally one of my customers' restaurants, that people were stealing so much toilet paper that they actually put a lock on the toilet paper because they were constantly running out. So that seems like small theft, but when you're talking about paper goods and the price and all these things, they were losing cases and cases. I thought this was pretty extreme. I thought maybe they could change how they, the toilet paper holder, But, they considered this theft, and this is how they stopped it. Here's another picture of what theft may look like. And this is a bartender who had just served me my lunch with a cigarette in one hand and my sandwich in the other. In her particular case, there's a couple of things. She's really stealing time because she's standing in the bar smoking a cigarette while customers are there. So she's not doing all the things that she could be doing to, make different sales or clean the bar or talk to guests. So it's a matter of stealing time. And then the fact that she's standing there smoking while she's working right in front of the guest, that's stealing your customer. Those are customers who will never come back after witnessing this. But as a matter of fact, this bar got sold to one of my clients. We hired her. She's a great employee. All we had to do was retrain her and say, no smoking at the bar. She's become a great employee. So who do I blame in this case? This was the owner allowing this to happen. The owner, when I had lunch there, was there, watching their employees smoke and take time and not do what they should have been doing. So time is theft. Toilet paper is theft. These are little things, but the smoking is a big one because it steals your customer. It makes them not come back. So I'm going to show you a video. This is a manager that we caught stealing, and you're going to actually witness the theft taking place just as we did. And many of you may have your bartenders count their drawer every day, which you should do. The bartenders should be given a drawer. They should count it, sign for it, verify it at the end of the day, be with the manager, count the drawer again, sign off, verify it. If that drawer is short, then the bartender must make up the difference because it's their drawer. Now, in this case, this is a trusted manager. Again, the word trust is crucial in a lot of theft that we see occurring. And you'll see that she is taking the drawer, getting ready to give the drawer to the bartender, and essentially telling the bartender, you don't need to count it. It's all there. And you will see that indeed the money is not all there. So let's take a quick look at this video. Watch very closely what happens in this area as she's taking care of the bank. So this is real theft in action. Okay, getting our bar drawer out. You can see the bartender is coming to pick up the drawer. And she's essentially telling him, I've got it, I'll count it, you're all set. When I watch very closely, taking money, putting it aside, finishing the bar drawer, and taking it out. So bartender, because he trusts the manager, and of course the owners trust the manager, did not count his bar drawer and ended up being $100 short that day. And as the bartender, he, again, didn't count the drawer. He ended up paying us the $100, which we gave him back very quickly once we went through the video to make sure. But a lot of times people know they're on video, and she tried to be under the camera so we didn't see it. But even though they know they're on video, why do they steal while they're on video? Because most owners never look at video. And this manager had been with us for over a year. Just so happened we caught it on one of our video checks during each month for all of our clients. So this is how people steal. And had we not caught it, the poor bartender would be out $100. The restaurant would be made whole, and the manager would have had $100 that she could use. So these are things that do happen, and this was a real client, and it was within the last year. So check your cameras, in all your cameras. All right. So this is one of the case studies that Ed had talked about, and I'll go through it briefly, but I'm going to show you, which one is the real Randy. This is a general manager who was a good friend of the owner. And as I said, we just caught a family member stealing from one of their own family restaurants. So it's you have to put things in place to make sure they get checked. Anyway, their financials, the restaurant was losing a lot of money. The owner got a hold of me. I asked for the financials. So I read through the financials, sight unseen, never met the owner, never been at the restaurant. Very quickly, just by reading the P&L, I was able to call the owner and say, your general manager is not stealing from you, he's embezzling, because the money, we're talking 50,000, 70,000 over a period of a year. So Randy looks like a great guy, but let me show you the real Randy. That's him now, convicted felon, federal charges. We had him arrested as soon as I showed the owner how he was stealing, uncovered everything. We had him arrested immediately, and he got charged with felony charges, not just local type charges. So how was he stealing? And we're going to get to that as well. Two different ways. One, which is really subtle. So if you're an owner and you're not reviewing all of your invoices and checks that go out and everything else, you should do that. So one of the things that I had the accounting firm do was go through every company that we had written a check to in a period of 18 months to verify that they were a real company. And I made them call Cisco and US Foods to verify that, they were getting our checks and everything else. But through that, we found something for an invoice for design. So we called that company. Person picked up the phone and we said, hey, we're this restaurant and we paid you $5,000 for design. Can you tell us what it was in the restaurant that you designed? And the gentleman said, oh, I didn't design anything for you. Randy owed me $5,000 and he told me to write an invoice and put design, and then he would have the company write me a check. So that was the first way that we caught him. And then the second way is, I encourage my customers to pull a void report every single day. This company had never pulled a void report. I pulled a 30-day void report, and the void report showed that about $5,000 in voids had been done. So what does this mean? It means that Randy, at the end of the night, would look at all of the cash checks, checks that people paid cash for, and then he would take 2 or 3 of those checks, equaling possibly $500 or more. He would go ahead and void those checks, so that by voiding, essentially showing that no transaction had occurred. And then he went into the drawer and he took all of the money. So the next day when somebody counted the drawer, guess what? The drawer was perfect. But we were missing $500 because what the person counting the drawer didn't know was that $500 of product had been voided. So void is one of the very top areas that managers steal. And this also happens if you give employees your a code where they could do voids or they can do comp. So I recommend that nobody under manager level is allowed to do any type of comp or any type of void. So when we added up all the voids over the period of a year, it was almost $100,000. And this is why, combined with everything else, we had him arrested and we prosecuted him as well. So watch all of these things. But to me, the tip off of theft is when the owner tells me, oh, I trust this person implicitly. And I think, maybe it's time for me to take a look. So just put things in place. Read the void report every day. If you have an open drawer report, I would, and if you don't, put that in so you could see that, or a penny report, because a lot of times, I'll find that one employee is opening the drawer for a penny or just an open drawer 30 times a day, and every other employee either never does that or they might do it once or twice just to give change. So a lot of different things are ready and in your system already to catch people. We just need to use it. So where do we begin? There's a lot of places, but there's one place that I like to start, and that is by looking at the profit and loss statement. And this is where I detect theft first. But in this case, you can see I'm saying you cannot catch a thief with these numbers because the numbers are there, and I know that someone's stealing, but when you do your report, if you want to be able to catch people either stealing or at least alert yourself to problems that you have in the restaurant that maybe not totally unrelated to theft at all, instead of doing this setup where it's the P&L and it's just showing me the numbers, you must ask that your accountant or whoever's putting the numbers together that they also need to put in percentages. This is how the uncovery of problems starts, whether it's just mishandling of food or overportioning, any of those things. But again, we could detect, and this is a real P&L from one of my customers. So you can see they were having big problems. Their food cost, which should have been running 32%, was running 63. Lots of reasons: overportioning, waste, giving away food. But again, once I had the percentages, I could start to uncover it. Their beer percentage showing 41% should have been closer to 25% with all the draft beer and canned beer and those things that they sell. So again, I'm alerted to this. When I see something that's double the amount, there are very big issues at that bar. And again, here, the wine should have been running closer to 30% or even a little less because of how many glasses of wine they sold. That number should have been 28 to 30. It was 41. So again, lots of things happening there, but for sure, theft. And we'll talk about what is theft. And then liquor should have been 18 to 22, and it was running 41. So you could see how much money is going out the door that shouldn't have. I mean, we're talking about over the period of a year, the restaurant should have had about 100,000 or so more dollars to pay their bills, if in fact these numbers had been in line. So if you want to detect theft, I recommend start with your P&L, make sure all the percentages are there, and then you can move from there. And if you're interested, there is a company that we work with that will help you develop a P&L that you could put together and have it give you a report every day, every week, however you want to do it. So just email me or call me and I'll set you up with that company. But it's everybody that does it starts saving money right away when they see what those numbers are versus what they're supposed to be. So this is where I always start. So how do our employees steal from us? Number of different ways. So in this case, I'm just showing you pizza, but so if you're not doing a system where food can only be made if there's a ticket, then any employee can walk in and say to the chef, "Oh, I'm short one pizza. Oh, I'm short one burger, or I'm short a filet." Can you not saying to the staff, food only gets made from a ticket, then they can do this to you all day long. As soon as we implement this program, follow it up, our food cost drops immediately. So this is a big area of theft, just giving away product. In this case, wine, you can see in one glass, it's poured properly, but a lot of times with wine, people have friends come in. Again, I was just at a restaurant in the last few weeks where the bartender should have poured the glass about where you see the one on the right, but they poured it almost to the top, giving every customer more than double the amount of wine. So of course the wine cost is going to be exorbitant. So overpouring is probably in the top 2 or 3 areas of theft. And you may think that overpouring is not a big deal, but when somebody overpours a liquor, like I just ordered a Frangelica on Monday when I was at my client's restaurant doing a secret shop, and they should have poured 1 1/4 ounces, but I got a full glass. And the next day I did the same thing. They poured me a 3-ounce glass, not 1 1/4. So the restaurant is losing money on every one of those. So we have to watch that. And we'll talk about a system that you can implement today that will start saving you money immediately. Change is another big one. So again, on this week, when I took the owners through where I thought all the theft was occurring, go to your bar and go to the register in a morning when nobody is there And when we went on Tuesday morning, early in the morning, to see what was at the bar, there was a bunch of change sitting on the cash drawer. There were, cups for sides of sauces, plastic cups. There were a number of different items. And these are items which bartenders, malicious bartenders, use to steal from you. They have these things there so that they can track by taking a penny, so they may have 10 pennies sitting there. And you might think, oh, it's just random. There's just change laying there. It's not. They're stealing drinks from you. They might say, you know what, everybody who pays cash tonight for a vodka drink, I'm going to take the cash from that. So they'll take a penny, push it to the side for the first one, second one, third one. And then, they'll open the drawer. And if you're watching camera, it looks like, oh, they're putting the money in the drawer. So they're not really ringing it up, but they're opening the drawer, the money goes in the drawer. At the end of the night, they see that, there's 6 pennies there, and they, times the $8 of drinks, and boom, they know exactly how much money they've stolen from you. They go in, they count their drawer, they take all of the cash that they didn't charge right out of your drawer, put it to the side like it's a tip, and then you count the drawer and it balances perfectly. So what did the owners learn from this when I did this with them this week? Nothing is at that bar that doesn't need to be there. No matches, no toothpicks, which I think is my next one. So no change, no different types of cups, nothing that shouldn't be there. We have to take away the ability from people to steal from you. And this is just one of the many, many ways that your employees will do this. So that's a big one. The other one, and I didn't put it on here, but when I was doing my secret shop, I also saw a number of servers go behind the bar and fill glasses of wine for their customers. That's great. I saw them fill the wine. I saw them give the wine. What I didn't see was them bringing the wine. So immediately we changed the bar to no drinks get made unless there's a ticket, and no servers can go behind the bar, period, no matter how busy the bar is. So we're seeing a difference. We're 3 or 4 days into it. We're already seeing bar sales are increasing, but customer count is at about the same level. So again, these are problems that we can all avoid just by monitoring how we're doing things. So other ways that employees will steal, and I'm going to save the last one or something. Oh, there it is. So if you allow employees to bring in any kind of bags or purses, anything, I would stop that practice immediately. And that is all of your personal items, gym bags, purses, any type of anything that somebody might bring in needs to go in the trunk of their car and stay locked. That's it. Now, in this particular location this week, a number of the employees traveled by bus. So we explained to them they could bring in the bag, but the bag would immediately go into the office, be locked all day so it's secure. And when that employee was ready to go home, we would give them back the bag and escort them out the door. So that, again, there's no chance for anybody to steal. So, we constantly see people bringing in gym bags because they're going to go to the gym later, or they went to the gym first, or people bring in purses and shopping type bags. That's a practice that we don't allow at any place, because when we do investigate and open up people's purses, unfortunately, we find a lot of different things. So you want to stop theft, stop it right there. The other is, on this garbage can. This is an area that ever since I've been in the industry has been probably one of the most common ways that people steal. So dishwashers or cooks, they may take something from the cooler, and I'm talking about as big as an entire prime rib or New York strip or 10, steaks already cut, and they throw it into the garbage, and they take the garbage out. And then when it's time for them to go home, grab their car, go over to the garbage, open it up, take out their food, and go from there. So including garbage, without a manager opening the door, and that manager should inspect the garbage. And if it's really busy and they need to throw something out, it could sit by the door for 10 minutes till the manager gets there. The big mistake here, and employees know it, they go to the manager, hey, I got to take out the garbage, and they're doing it strategically in the middle of a rush. The manager says, here's my key. Okay, well, we just gave the employee the key to steal. So that's a behavior that you need to talk to the managers about. We cannot give out our key. We can't give out our code so an employee can void something because they don't want to wait for the manager. So these are some of the biggest areas where people steal, and we don't want that to happen with you. Delivery, pickup, credit cards. So there's a lot of different ways that people steal. Again, if you're not monitoring, and this pizza box could be any type of food. So if you're not forcing a ticket be made for each and every item, many times we found in the delivery area, our customers that do delivery, the person doing the delivery will say, oh, this person needed an extra burger, or I need another pizza. They forgot to put it on the ticket, and then the cooks make it. So what happens? The delivery driver now has somebody's order plus a whole new order, which they can drop off to their friends, they can drop off at their house, and you'll never know it because, again, during the rush, we allowed people to tell the cooks and the chef what they needed. And by doing that, again, we're allowing the staff to steal. So it's just, you have the tools to make this stop, you just need to put them in place. This is one of my favorite, the, oh, I forgot, or, oh, I made a mistake. So this is where an employee brings in 2 fillets and they really only wanted 1. And they, again, don't catch it until the order comes up. And what happens? Oh, chef, I'm so sorry. I only needed 1. And oh, I'll just take this extra one to the server station. I'll do, and we'll eat it so it doesn't go to waste. I look at that, I see this happening all the time. So how do we stop this? Very easily. What should happen, and what we implement at restaurants all the time, if there's food somebody forgot to not put it in, and they cook a fillet, what we tell the chef is, look, when they come up and say, oh, it was a mistake, I'll take it to the server station and we'll share the food. The chef should take it and say, no, throw it right in the garbage. Everything that's extra rung up goes in the garbage in front of the staff. And then guess what? Within 10 days, that behavior is totally gone because they know, take it home. They're not going to be able to have it for their dinner. They're not going to be able to share it with staff. That is theft. So all of these things fall into theft because they affect your costs. This is interesting. This one actually came up with Starbucks. If you go on YouTube and put in, woman yelling at employee for stealing. A woman drives to Starbucks. She's on a very tight budget, orders a latte, gives the credit card. The employee turns around with the credit card, takes an extra 30 seconds to get the credit card back, gives the card back. Woman goes home. Well, she went shopping that day, and then she looked at her credit card, just to check that everything was verified for the day that on what she spent, and she saw an extra 60 or Target, and she didn't buy them. And the only person that handled that card besides her was the employee of Starbucks. So she pulled up to Starbucks the next day, and this is on video. And again, you could probably find it through you. My money back that you. For just a minute, and then finally broke down and said, oh, but I needed those things, and I don't have a lot of money, and I'm a cheerleader, and I'm a good person, and went on and on and on. But your employees can do this. You have to be able to monitor, these employees, because if they're stealing from your customers in this way, because those customers are not going to come back to your restaurant because you have employees that, they don't trust. So we have to look everywhere for any type of theft at all. Another one is that if you have a card that you get points on, ways is they get and keep different customers' numbers, their points. So if a customer comes in and let's say pays $100 for their dinner, that employee, and they're going to use cash, that employee will then take the cash and the check and then go back, and that customer reopen or have that check still open, go in and put somebody else's points in so that they could take $50 and then close out the check. And again, the check balances. How did we catch this? Well, we caught this when a customer happened to check their points and saw that they were 100, 200, or 300 points off. And we tracked it back to when the last time it was used and found that the employee was stealing customers for just to steal. So employees are very, very smart when it comes to stealing from you. And this is also very common in casinos. We all know casinos are hard to steal from, but they have the big point programs, and most often where I've seen this, any theft in a casino that we work with comes from employees stealing customer points and using them to cash out in other ways. Probably, the toughest one where we end up, stealing money from ourselves by mistake. And how do we do that? Well, a marketing idea that seemed like a really good idea at the time ends up backfiring and costing you money in ways that you never thought. So I think it was once said that every solution becomes a problem. So, hey, you came up with this great marketing solution to bring in more people, have them spend more money, and all of a sudden it goes sideways. Well, what happened? So in one case, the idea was a guest could buy a drink for a friend, and if that friend wasn't ready for the drink, they would give them a poker chip to show that the drink was paid for, and the customer could come in tomorrow or next week. They bring the chip and they give it to the bartender, and the bartender gives them a drink. Why? Because the only people who have chips are the ones that either they paid for or somebody gave them a cocktail and they just didn't drink it that night. Sounds like a great idea, a fun idea, gets people going. But how did this go bad? Unintended consequence. One of the guests happened to find where the chips could be purchased because we had purchased them from a store, far away. It was a very specialized chip, the whole thing. And of course, that person bought hundreds of chips, handed them out at the bar. And we had one day where all of the people had used chips to pay for their drinks, and we brought in almost zero income at the bar. So that was a program that had to be ended right away. So we look at that, great idea. And then, the owners really didn't want to do it because, well, people have chips and they like the program, but somebody is just handing them out by the hundreds. End the program, explain it to the guests, let's do something else. So that was one that probably cost this bar, I would say, $2,000 to $3,000 in lost sales because somebody stole the chips essentially and handed them out. Plus, I'm sure a lot of bartenders just took them out and gave the chips to their friends. So there was no tracking. Another one, same idea. Owner had a business card with a signature line on the back and said, essentially, good for a cocktail on me. Great idea. If the owner kept them in his pocket and only gave it out to specific people or whatever, that would have been great. But again, unintended consequence, employees took a bunch of the business cards. They signed his signature and handed out hundreds to their friends and regular customers. And all of a sudden, people are using his business card. But we noticed after we redeemed some of them and gave it to the owner, he looked and it's like, that's not my signature. So we had to stop that program. So be careful with these type of programs. If you're going to do a program of any type, make sure that it is trackable and cannot be reused. But all these ideas were great ideas when they came up with them. Unfortunately, they got taken advantage of. So here's the sure way to cut down on bar theft. And I'll tell you what happened with some bartenders I was with this week and how they responded to this. You want to cut down on bar theft and giving away drinks and all that, you have to do this in this particular order. So the bartender takes the order. bartender turns around and immediately rings the order. So take the order, ring the order, make the drink, serve the drink, put a receipt in front of the guest. So that even if you don't really know a lot about the bar, but we implement this program, take the order, ring the order, make the drink. Now, when I sat with bartenders the other day, they were like, well, I can't do that. We're so busy. I have to get the drinks. Even a non-malicious bartender will miss 10% of the drinks for the day. So my response is, I'm sorry, you don't have time to make money for yourself or the bar because they'll lose tips. So if you make your staff do this, train them and retrain them and really focus on this, if they all take the order, ring the order, you know that you're getting all of your money. But as soon as you see a bartender who's been trained to do this and you've watched do this, takes the order and makes the order, I would consider firing that bartender that day because they're still stealing. So you have to let them know how severe this is. But once we put this program up, we see bar sales go up by 20 or 30%. It's a huge, huge difference. And it's, as I said, a lot of times it's not malicious. It's they get busy, they want to satisfy the customer. They have to do two things. They have to satisfy you as the owner. They have to satisfy the customer as well. So all of the money needs to be accounted for. So if you're going to take a picture of any slide, this would be the one. Take the order, ring the order, make the drink, serve it, put a receipt in front of the guests. They order another drink, we throw away the receipt, do the exact same thing. And you could do this even, running a tab or cash, either one. So I've always said, there's 100 ways for employees to steal and only 50 ways to catch them. Because when it comes to creative thievery, your staff is twice as smart as you. But we have to stay on top of it and be diligent to make sure we're doing everything we can. So one way to find out, and this most often happens when owners aren't there, all of a sudden the employees will say, oh, the POS isn't working, it's down, can you pay cash? All of a sudden people are paying cash. Guess what? POS isn't down, but employees are agreeing, or the bartenders, nobody else is there, and the bartenders say, oh, the POS is down, and people pay cash. Guess what? That's cash that's not coming to you. Voids increase during busy periods. That's when they know they can take advantage of a manager to just void something immediately or give them a void code. So managers tend to void more during a rush. Don't let that happen. And don't give any of the comp codes or, void privileges to anybody who's not a manager. And guest walkouts is another one. You need to explain to your staff, if a guest walks out, that server needs to pay the tab. There's no such thing as walkout. They've rung it in, they've tracked it. They need to monitor the guests. That's why we have self-banking. The employees are in charge. You may tell the server, and it's part of your training, if there's a walkout, you need to pay. They'll say, I'm not going to pay, and they're going to quit. And it's the cheapest lesson in thievery that you will have. They're gone. That will end pretty quickly as soon as everybody else understands that you're serious. So if you want, here's just other ways that people steal. If you don't require employees to count their cash drawers, they steal through putting up no sale on your POS. You could do a mid-shift drawer count to see if anything's off right in mid-shift. Void access, we talked about, comp access. Never, and I see this all the time, never let employees put their tips in the cash drawer. Blended money is theft. Because at the end, you're going to see them counting out all sorts of money and their tips, and the drawer will probably come out even, but that's because they've been counting and doing all sorts of things. So no tips in the drawer, and then look at how many zero charges are rung up, open drawer, in your operation. Then of course, stealing points from guests. Free drinks is stealing, or pizza, local merchants for an exchange. Caught somebody exchanging food for haircuts for themselves. Don't give any free drinks, and I'm talking about alcohol, to the cooking staff or food for the staff for free. A lot of times, again, watch your bartender giving out free drinks for bigger tips. Overpouring liquor, probably the #1 theft out there. They're giving their friends, regular customers, double the pour. That's not what you want. Overcharging the number of drinks or food for large groups. So a lot of times you have banquet, 50 people, it's all being rung up on one check, and then a greedy server will ring up an extra 10 or 20 drinks to increase their tip. Monitor it, and typically we find out from the customer that they're saying, hey, there's no way that my guests drink this many cocktails. So we have to watch it really everywhere. And then, of course, we all know the customer that comes in and complains to get free food. Again, don't let that happen. That it certainly can happen honestly, but you as the owner or manager need to check it out, understand the complaint, and make sure that if that customer comes back, we don't see that behavior again. So incorrect drawer counts, cash directly from guests. So these are things we steal. Also office supplies, papers, pens, staplers. I like to say anything not nailed down for sure. Food is a big one. Paper products, stealing alcohol. I went into one of my customers. I went into the locked liquor inventory room or liquor room, and of course, first thing in the morning, I open the door. It's not locked. So what does that mean? Well, we did an inventory. We were 4 bottles short. You have a lock on the door, lock the doors, and then kitchen equipment. So people will steal whatever they can. Check references is always very helpful. Ask the person that you're checking the reference to, would you trust this person to close? You can ask that. Keep morale high, offer bonuses when you can. Clear policies, very important, so everybody understands what they need to do. Talk to employees about theft and the cost to the business. Let them know what it costs to steal paper, china, silver, glass, alcohol, all those things. Keep trustworthy managers on all your shifts, but in order to make, you have to make them trustworthy, following policies, and everything that they do can be checked. You can switch managers around to, again, keep everybody honest. If you're giving refunds or that kind of thing, sometimes you may want to have a second employee or manager sign off. 2 employees take out trash, a manager and the employee, so you can see as the trash is being dumped what's in there. And review registers beginning and end of shift. I'm going to very quickly go through this because I know we got to take questions. Ed, do we have questions right now?
Hi, Izzy. No, there are no questions yet.
Great. Okay.
But attendees,
Okay.
remember, now's your chance. Izzy's talk is almost done. Takes a few minutes now, and think if you've got any questions, and use the Q&A tab to send those questions.
So if you think an employee or an employee is stealing, you have to determine what they stole, how did they do it, and the question here, can they be rehabilitated? Because again, may not have been malicious. As you investigate, be fair and reasonable. Don't believe the employee who comes to you and say, oh, this person's stealing. Take it seriously, investigate, but don't just take somebody's word. Really take the time. Review documents, emails, texts, certainly video, who might have witnessed it. Document everything that you do. But as owner or manager, it's tempting to make an example of an employee. Don't give in to temptation. Work with that employee one-on-one. We don't want to, make a whole drama about this for everybody. If you decide to fire the employee, do it privately, out of earshot of everybody. Just don't make it a thing. Document everything, including the outcome. And then last, you cannot deduct the cost of the stolen goods from an employee's check. And you can't, because a wage is totally separate from how you want to get reimbursed for that theft. So you can't do that. Before making a deduction, whether you keep him employed or not, consult with a law attorney about how to take it. But I always recommend do not take any money from an employee's check. Let them write you a check back if you're going to keep them or however you're going to settle this. The employee agrees to pay back the amount stolen. There's limits to how much you can garnish from somebody's check. But again, I'd rather keep it clean and just let staff, write you a check or give you the money in a, some form that you can track as it comes in. And even if you caught an employee stealing on a Friday and they have a week's payroll coming, you may be tempted not to pay them because that's the very least of how much they stole. Unfortunately, you have to pay them, because otherwise you're going to have a bigger problem with a labor liability issue. And transaction, as I said, always separate from payroll. So as we look at this, yeah, the question is, what's the good news here about theft? So good news is it's preventable. You can put in all of these systems to make sure it's mitigated. Don't make it easy for your staff to steal. That's huge. Start closing up the doors that people are taking the money. Do reference checks on your managers and employees. Do the background checks on managers for sure. Change up your bartender shifts. If you have one bartender who works every Friday and Saturday this week, when they come in or before they get there, say, you know what, I'm putting somebody else behind the bar today, and tomorrow have a couple of days off. If there's any chance, a big difference in your sales, it's very possible that that bartender who is regularly working those days is taking money. You can also change manager shifts to see, what's the result of that. So again, we can't just trust somebody because they're a little old lady and they happen to be our mother or grandmother. So anyway, Ed, if there's questions, I will take them at this point.
Thank you, Izzy, very much. Attendees, again, if you've got questions, please put them forth right now. We've got a few minutes left, and you've got the expert available right now. Izzy, I've got a question or two for you while we're waiting.
Sure.
This came to mind when you showed the video of the woman, the manager, putting the money out of the drawer and putting it on her desk. Can you put these cameras that are observing your employees anywhere, or are there some restrictions on that? And do you need to tell them that you're recording them, or what's the legal side of that?
Well, you can put cameras everywhere except washrooms. And we, let employees know when they're hired that we have cameras. I mean, that's part of their training. We have cameras everywhere, and we watch the video and we, check things out. So you cannot have sound, though. I did just see an operation that put in cameras with sound. That you cannot do, but you can certainly put in cameras. Now, if you have cameras on the outside of your building, checking the parking lot or as people come up the steps, then you have to put a notice on the exterior of the building that says video monitors are in place. So as soon as guests are going to be captured specifically, then you have to have some external signage. And you'll see that after today, you'll start to notice buildings that have little signs that say, we have video surveillance, or you're on video. But inside the restaurant, not necessary. Good to tell employees. And again, people steal and they don't think owners watch the video. And you saw that this manager very confidently, even knowing that there's cameras, took the money because she had been with us certainly over a year.
And then regarding the cameras also, you mentioned how important it is, obviously, for the owner to review the camera footage, but that could take obviously the exact same amount of time as it took to film it. So is there a certain trigger, or, do you look at it when you sense that something is wrong, or when you notice, or what?
Yeah, certainly when we sense something, sometimes just randomly, but if we think, there's a bartender who might be stealing, then we're just going to watch, different parts of their shift. In the beginning, when they put in their cash drawer, what are they doing? What is, just going out and looking at what's around the bar to see if there's anything there. But, checking different parts of their shift, and you can fast forward and get through it, but boom, you see something that is suspicious. And one of the things that comes to mind that we catch all the time is bartenders drinking at the bar. So they have a styrofoam cup or a plastic cup, and they keep it down low near where their cocktail well or something. And you'll see them just go over and they grab, a bottle of something and they pour it down low. Well, they're not making a drink. So that's how we catch people drinking on the job, which is, of course, not allowed. But again, that's theft. Sometimes I've seen bartenders pour themselves as many as 10 drinks throughout a shift. I don't know how they do it. Obviously you don't care if anything gets rung up in the drawer, but that's the advantage of speed up the camera, watch a little bit, look at these different areas. Certainly if you're suspicious, then you need to take a little time.
Okay. What about some of the things that you recommend are time seems like they would slow down the process. Making sure every drink is rung up, or making sure there's a manager there when you take out the garbage. And those things make sense. But do you have managers or owners complaining to you, hey, Izzy, this is going to slow us down? This is,
Yeah.
not worth it. What do you think?
Well, as I said, we just trained a couple of bartenders in this new procedure, and every one of them said exactly what you're saying. Oh, it's going to slow me down. That's okay. If it slows you down by 30 seconds, which is certainly more than enough time to ring up a drink. If it slows you down by 20 seconds, that's fine. It guarantees that we're going to get our money. So I don't mind inconveniencing, and it's really not an inconvenience because eventually they have to ring up the drinks. And most bartenders are not doing this maliciously, but if somebody, they have a group of 6 people, oh, I got to get these drinks made. And then there's a group of 2 more people, and they're trying to remember all this, and they're looking around counting drinks. 10-20% of those drinks will never get into the register. So it's a slight inconvenience. And for the managers at the back door, I would just tell them, hey, I'm not ready to take out the garbage, leave the garbage can by the door, and we'll do it in 15 or 20 minutes. They don't need to do it right that second. So some inconveniences, but there's no way an owner or bartender can make me believe that making 18 drinks without ringing them up, that they'll be able to remember every one that they did. And my concern is not the employee. My concern is the owner.
Right.
Yeah. And again, an owner, like I said, can spot it across the floor. If they see somebody going out of exactly that lineup, take the order, ring the order, then they know there's a problem. And that's when they should watch the cameras.
Okay. Attendees, we got about 2 minutes. If you got a question, fire it off. I've got just one more, and it's really just a clarification, Izzy. You mentioned early that if the bar drawer is over, that's a sign of theft. And did you mean by that means they're not ringing up the drinks, but they're putting cash in, which they'll take out later or something?
So here's what happens. I'm glad you asked that. So if they're using, let's say pennies to say, I'm going to steal every $8 cash drink. So somebody pays cash, they had their drinks, you see them open the drawer, they just put the cash in, they push a penny aside. But something happens during the night and they forgot, somehow other pennies got moved and they don't exactly know the total. So rather than take what they think, because it'll show the bar as short, they leave extra money in because most managers, most owners never consider that a bar drawer that's over means that there's theft. So they're just trying to make it, oh, I'll leave an extra $10. I'm not sure what my count was. I think it was this. I'm going to leave extra money just to make sure I'm covered and nobody's suspicious. So that's when they miscount.
Got it. Great. Okay, good. Well, we have no other questions, but Izzy, thank you so much for this presentation today. Super valuable information. And attendees, I'll remind you that this has been recorded so you can watch it later or show it to your staff or managers and learn some more. And as I mentioned, Izzy's business is Hospitality Works. And you can find him online if you would like to use him as a consultant. So Izzy, thank you very much. And attendees, thank you for your time today.
All right. Thanks for putting this on. I really appreciate it, Ed.
This ends our event today. Thank you.